بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. في الصحيحين من حديث عمر بن أبي سلمة أنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: يا بني سم الله وكل بيمينك وكل مما يليك. The hadith that was collected by Imam al-Bukhari on authority of Umar ibn Abi Salama. He said that the Prophet ﷺ told me, "O boy," Ya Ghulam, in another narration, "O son, Sammillah, say Bismillah before you start eating, and eat with your right hand, and eat from that which is in front of you, مما يليك." في هذا الحديث فوائد كثيرة. أولها عمر ibn Abi Salama. The very first benefit from this hadith is the boy narrating this hadith is Umar ibn Abi Salama. Abu Salama is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. His mother is Barra bintu Abd al-Muttalib. The father of the Prophet ﷺ is Abdullah ibn Abd al-Muttalib. So they're cousins. So that's his aunt's son, Abu Salama. And he was one of the early people to embrace Islam, من السابقين في الإسلام. كان من أول المهاجرين إلى الحبشة ثم إلى المدينة. Abu Salama was one of those who made the first hijrah to Abyssinia. فولدت له أم سلمة واسمها هند بنت أمية. His wife Salama, the daughter of Abu Umayyah, she had all of her 4 kids with Abu Salama in Abyssinia. أولهم سلمة وهو أكبر أولادها، ثم عمر، ثم درة، ثم زينب. So Abu Salama had 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys in Abyssinia before even they made hijrah to Medina. When the Battle of Uhud took place, which was towards the end of the 2nd year in Hijrah, Abu Salama was one of those who participated in the Battle of Badr. فكان قد أصابه جرح. He was wounded during the battle. وجعل الله سبحانه وتعالى جرحه هذا سببا في موته. Allah Ta'ala made that wound the cause of his death. He got infected. That infection rather in his wound got him to, it was the cause of his death. فلما توفي حزنت سلمة على موته. When Abu Salama passed, Salama was very, very sad about his death. حتى أنها خرجت إلى قبره بعد أن دفن. As she, after he was buried, she went to his grave and she was weeping and sad about it. فمر بها النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فقال لها اصبري واحتسبي. And as she was in that situation, the Prophet passed by and told her, be patient and await the reward from Allah. She said, إليك عني لم تصب بمصابي. She said, leave me alone. You're not as afflicted as I am with this calamity. فانصرف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. فلما أخبرت أن الذي كلمها هو النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أسرعت في اللحاق به. And when she was told that the person who talked to you as you were in the midst of your sadness and emotions, that was Rasulullah. And then she went chasing after him, alayhi salatu wasalam. And she said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I didn't know it was you. Forgive me. And he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she's the one that narrates this hadith about what you should say at a time of loss. The famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says that when one of you loses a loved one, say, Allahumma ajurni fi musibati. Say, oh Allah, reward me for this calamity that I am afflicted with. Give me a reward, because it is سميت مصيبة لأنها تصيب منك شيئا. Al-musiba in Arabic is a target. Literally, the linguistical meaning of a musiba, isaba, is a target. And then we are all targets. You could be targeted emotionally, you could be targeted physically, you could be targeted mentally, you could be financially, socially, many ways you could be targeted. And if a calamity hits a target in you, the Prophet ﷺ give you one rule of thumb, and that is, ما من مصيبة تصيب العبد حتى الشوكة يشاكها إلا كفر الله بها من خطاياه. There is not a calamity or a tribulation and a hardship that afflicts the individual, even if it is a prick of a thorn, except that a person is going to have a reward for it, let alone if it is of a magnitude of losing a loved one. But with one condition, is for a person to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. In other words, we belong to Allah. We are the property of Allah. And to Allah we shall return, and everything that happens to us is by a decree of Allah, and I accept that decree of Allah. In other words, when you say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, you remind yourself of that. But the point, the Prophet ﷺ told Salama, say, Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa khlufni khayran minha. He says, what you should say, what shall I say, Ya Rasulullah? He said, say, oh Allah, reward me for my calamity, and replace me that which is better than the calamity, than the affliction of losing Abu Salama. And she said, Ya Rasulullah, who would be better than Abu Salama? That's just how much she loved her husband, Abu Salama. She thought that she couldn't even imagine somebody better than her husband, Abu Salama. And sure enough, she made that dua. And after her iddah, that period of 4 months and 10 days was over, after usually a woman remains without being married or anything within that period, after that period was over, the Prophet ﷺ married Salama, and she used to say, I never thought that there could be anybody for me than Abu Salama until I married the Prophet ﷺ. But Shahid, when the Prophet ﷺ married Salama, mind you, she has 4 kids. 2 boys and 2 girls. And the boys, Salama and Umar, they were kids when he married her. So they were his step kids. And one of them is Umar, the narrator of this hadith. هذا هو الشاهد من هذا الكلام كله أنه هو راوي هذا الحديث. He narrates this hadith, and he was, of course, the Prophet ﷺ is his stepfather. And he says in a different narration, or the long narration of this version, is he says, Kuntu ghulam. I was a little boy sitting on the lap of the Prophet ﷺ and eating with him. But I was reaching out for food all over the dish. And that's when he says, Ya ghulam, oh boy, first of all say Bismillah. وَالْبَسْمَلَةُ فِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ تَبَرُّكٍ. When you say Bismillah, you are invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all of His name and attributes, and you say Bismillah, meaning I invoke Allah with the name that is the most appropriate for this. It could be because you wanted to wear clothes. You say Bismillah, I wear this clothes, and the most appropriate name of Allah ta'ala for that is to bless my clothes. If it is food you wanted to eat, say Bismillah, meaning you are invoking the most appropriate name of Allah for eating, for driving, and so much so that the Prophet ﷺ says that any matter of one's affairs where he or she does not say Bismillah, that matter is about to fail, is bound to fail. In other words, it's one of those secret elements for success is when you say Bismillah in all of your affairs. So you want the blessing of the food. When you say Bismillah, you are invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless your food. And you say Bismillah. He says, and also eat with your right hand. This is a statement of the tongue, and the action of the hand is you eat with your right hand. And in a different hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, do not eat with your the left hand, nor drink with your left hand, because the shaitan eats and drinks with the left hand. And what the Prophet ﷺ is saying, you are literally perishing, making the blessing of Allah Ta'ala for that food to perish when you eat with your left hand. With your left hand. So very important. Well, we say, well, my right hand is dirty. How can I grab a drink with my left hand? The dish is about to, it can be washed. If it is disposable, you're going to get rid of it anyway. But the point is, be always consistent and mindful of eating and drinking with the right hand all the time. الشاهد كل بيمينك سم الله, say Bismillah, eat with your right hand, وكل مما يليك, and eat from that which is in front of you instead of reaching out to all over the place. And فيها حكمة أن الله سبحانه وتعالى يجعل البركة في اللقمة واللقمتين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah and bless a morsel, the first bite, second bite, third bite, and you don't know which of the bites you took is where the blessing is. You don't know which one has the blessings. And the blessings are, in other words, the Prophet ﷺ saying, are in front of you, not necessarily all over the place. This is one. Number two, even now, culturally, people, they eat together, but each in his own plate. And meaning, I can eat from, since the plate is all mine, I can eat from anywhere. So the point is not necessarily because you're eating in front of somebody else. Because usually, traditionally, you would sit around one dish, group of people would sit in one dish, as we will come to see in a different hadith. He says, but rather, the essence of it is for you to have the mannerism of eating from that which is in front of you. This is the sunnah. Even if you are eating in the same dish and it is all yours, the food is all yours in one plate, and you can eat literally any. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but it does matter when it comes as that mannerism for which you will be rewarded because you are invoking the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ of eating from that which is in front of you. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يرزقنا وإياكم العلم النافع والعمل الصالح. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.